Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspiration and Hope is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6 Minute Webinar. Today, we got two wonderful guests, great friends of mine. I've known Dr. Ted Groner for, a couple and a half, 2.5, 3 years, something like that. He is a dentist, and he's going to talk about how he relieves fear, and he has developed a very special, unique technique when it comes to wisdom teeth. We're talking about less pain, less anesthesia, faster recovery time, all those wonderful things. In other words, on his website, he goes from owl to wow. Also, we're going to have a young lady on with us today. She also is the host of Everyday People on Friday, Tamra Blankenship. You're going to get a chance to meet her. You've seen her on the TV screen here, but we'll be right back right after this brief message.
Hi, and welcome to the Messages of Inspiration and Hope show that's proudly sponsored by the 6 Minute Webinar. Today we have some exciting and very interesting guests, real people just like you and me. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Now here's Jim.
Thank you so much, and we're back. Let me welcome Dr. Ted Groner to the stage. Hey, Doc, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jim.
Oh my goodness, you're an oral surgeon from Tampa, Florida. Is that correct?
I am. I've been in oral surgery for about 30 years. I got my training in the Air Force. Started in the Air Force actually as a general dentist, and then got my training in oral and maxillofacial surgery, which takes, nowadays it's 4 years, sometimes 6 if you want to get your MD. I didn't get my MD, didn't need it. But that's what it is. Basically, it's an extended period of time where you're working as a first-year surgical resident in a hospital setting, rotating through a variety of medical specialties. Anesthesia, that's where we get our anesthesia training under anesthesiology, the eyes of an experienced anesthesiologist. And it's a really interesting 4 years.
Oh, yeah. The thing that really interested me about Dr. Ted, ladies and gentlemen, was that when we first met him, we were in Orlando, Florida. When I say me and Don McGrath, we were down there. And the thing, when he started talking about being a dentist and all that, I guess all of us have those moments that we've been to the dentist that were not pleasant. And I was listening to him talk, and I'm thinking, wow, if I really needed some dental work, I think I'd want to go to this guy because he understands where he's coming from with that pain, because he was 19 years of age. He suffered from wisdom teeth and the traditional way of removing those wisdom teeth. And so he's got skin in the game. So he knew how he felt, and he didn't want his other patients to feel that way. And I really salute you on that, Ted, because that's just amazing. Would you share your experience with the folks, please?
Well, as a 19-year-old college student, I had no idea what wisdom teeth were. I just knew that I had the gum in the back of my mouth starting to swell and become painful. And after going to an oral surgeon and finding out that the gum was affected, I spent up to a week in pain waiting for the antibiotic to treat the infection. Then he removed the tooth. And in my brilliance, I decided to do just the one, not all four, and do it awake, which was another mistake. In fact, I probably made multiple mistakes in this experience. The choice of anesthetic was probably a big one, because it turned out this single tooth was a very, very difficult tooth to remove. It had long, narrow roots, 4 of them. All 4 of them broke. And so the surgeon had to remove each one of them individually. It took him 45 minutes, nearly an hour. When he was getting close to finish, he took the towel off my eyes and asked if I was doing okay. And the fact that he asked that question meant I probably shouldn't be. So I started feeling bad. So God knows why I went into oral surgery. But in looking back after 30 years, it made me realize why I've tried to improve every aspect of the wisdom tooth removal experience. And it really starts with timing. My timing as a 19-year-old turned out to be too late for me. For others, it may not be, but I've seen 15-year-olds where the roots are fully grown. So it ranges quite a bit. Timing, it relates to a number of different factors, but it's very, very important. It doesn't get any easier as you get older. And in fact, the problems compound when you have medical issues that start to pile on to the difficulty of getting the tooth out anyway. So it's a fairly complex thing, and I'm trying to make this easy for parents.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you were going to, I don't want you to go in more in detail here in just a moment, but as you were talking about your technique and educating people when the proper time was, it reminded me of an incident where I worked with a fleet manager many years ago, back in the 90s. And his attitude was, I mean, this guy managed hundreds of trucks in the fleet. And he says, I schedule maintenance rather than let breakdowns and maintenance schedule me. And so that analogy applies to what you're saying there, because you didn't know you had a problem with your wisdom teeth,
Right.
and you had to respond after it was a problem. But nowadays, you're taking a different message to the parents, aren't you?
My suggestion is to do them before they have an opportunity to get infected. So by doing that, you decrease the length of time that your child is uncomfortable nearly in half, because you don't have that extra week of pain that you're trying to eliminate infection before you remove the wisdom teeth. The other is that it by doing them before infection starts, it gives you the option to schedule it when it's best for you rather than when it's best for the wisdom tooth. So that number one. And number two, if you allow the roots to finish growing, they're that much longer an object to remove. I actually have a couple of examples here. Let's see. This is a fully formed wisdom tooth I actually 3D printed this. This is what it looks like, before the roots have a chance to grow. So if you have a tooth that's smaller, doesn't have roots going in 3 different directions, obviously that's an easier time to remove it. The other factor is that as we go from the mid to late teens, the bone hardens like slow setting concrete. So not only do you have the roots growing during that time, but you have the bone hardening, so that once you hit 20, you're at full on concrete stage. And we think of 20-year-olds as being young, but when it comes to bone age, no, not so. So those are the advantages of the teen. It really is a special opportunity to deal with it before infection starts, before pain. When somebody says the wisdom teeth are bothering them, essentially it means the gum has gotten infected, and that's too late. You want to beat that.
Oh, yeah, because that's after you got a major problem, and that just, it's just going to be a lot more pain and longer recovery time. You said something earlier before we went live, and I really like this technique, because my dentist used the same thing on me without kind of like telling me, because you control how long the person has anesthesia. Would you share that with us, please?
The most common narcotic that's given in the beginning of an IV anesthetic is a narcotic that lasts about an hour. So it's given at the beginning of the case. They're guesstimating about how much is the right amount for that patient. But once it's in, it's like taking a pill. You can't take it back. Yeah. So it lasts an hour. If the surgery only lasts 30 minutes, well, you've got 30 more minutes of that narcotics side effects to have to deal with before you're comfortable. I changed that in that I found an extremely short-acting narcotic about 17, 18 years ago that it's given as a continuous drip by a pump. What happens is when that pump is turned off, the narcotic is gone in 6 to 8 minutes. Gone. So your recovery is 10 to 20 minutes and then walking out the door. None of my patients have YouTube videos taken of them because they're not going home with active medication. And not that surgeons intentionally send the patients home with active medication, but all you have to do is do a search on YouTube for wisdom teeth, and you're going to find just loads of wisdom teeth where kids don't remember the way home. They're basically speaking gibberish, and that tells you that they still got active narcotic, or at least active drug, let's put it that way, on board. I'd much rather see them going home with a little bit of relaxation at the end of their anesthetic, and that's it. I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah. So, and it's a good idea for anyone that's going to be, going to a dentist or any doctor like that, to have someone drive you to there and from there, because I've known people that, I'm going to the dentist, got to have a wisdom tooth taken out. Okay. And they drive and come back, and, that's, well, what you said, that's extremely dangerous, because there's no way you can be mentally alert. Your reflex is going to be slowed. You're going to be mentally impaired. The whole thing, No,
if you're sedated, you cannot drive, and legally you can't drive for 24 hours. Now, if you have a surgery done with local anesthesia, well, then you can drive yourself. But there's another point and the reason why spending the money on a general anesthetic is important is because remember the story I just told you about in having my wisdom tooth removed. Well, this is what, 50 years later, and I still remember that same story. Well, if I had been put to sleep for that surgery, I wouldn't be telling you any of the gory details because I wouldn't remember them. And that to me is the second benefit of going to sleep. Not only do you experience the difficulty of the surgery, but you truly don't have a memory to carry on that may interfere with your getting routine general dental care throughout your life. So it makes a huge difference.
It really does, because I was sharing with you before we went live about an incident when I was about 9 or 10, something like that, and the dentist just looked at me because he was putting a needle in me, and he says, and I went like a little kid would do, and he stopped me, looked at me, and smiled, and said, "Well, it's not hurting me." And I was kind of like looked at him. I mean, how do what kind of an answer is that, but that things like that.
That proves my point. You remember that experience.
Oh, yeah. And I imagine you probably have patients that come in to see you. And if someone's watching out there and they've got a fear of going to the dentist, because I've never seen anybody, say, "Hey, guess what? Guess what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go to the dentist," But I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be facetious or funny,
Sure.
but I mean, we all have that, we're going to the dentist, the heart rate's going to go up a little bit. But someone who has a fear, who's experienced trauma from going to the dentist, I know you've dealt with that. And what would you advise someone to just give them good advice out there in the audience, please?
Well, let me separate the two. Going to a general dentist when you're fearful, there are some general dentists who have the training and the skills to do sedation. Some do it by sleeping pill, others do it by IV. I prefer to see something done that's shorter acting that you have more control over. What oral surgeons do is they don't do routine dentistry, but they do surgery. And more often, people don't want to be awake for their surgery. So that's why we do so much more anesthesia than going to a general dentist. But that doesn't mean you can't get the same thing at a general dental office if they're trained to do so.
Yeah.
And it can be important for even general dentistry.
Oh, yeah, sure. Because I was really impressed when you talked about all the years that you had spent in researching and how you came up with your particular procedure. And how long have you been using this procedure now, would you say?
It's been about 17 or 18 years. And it's a phenomenal technique in that I feel much more comfortable with the dosing, because with my ultra short acting narcotic, and I didn't invent the narcotic, I just refined the use of it. I can decrease that narcotic to match what the patient needs, because I found out with experience that not everybody has the same tolerance of medications, and it really stands out when you can give it as a continuous infusion, and you can back off on that narcotic if you need it. That's gold, when you have that much more control over your narcotic. And not having to reverse it where it's completely gone. I can actually decrease it as we go, along with a separate pump for the sleep drug. So I've got dual controls over both the medications that are used for the anesthetic. And there's nothing more comforting than a patient who wakes up that remembers what we were talking about as they were going to sleep. And you're not going to get that with any other technique. And it tells me that I can be comfortable in letting them go after just a few minutes. I don't have to keep them for 30 or 45 minutes. And I'll tell you, there's a personal reason why I especially don't like using longer acting narcotics. It's because the side effect is nausea. And I run from a room where somebody's nauseated. So I had to do something to get rid of that in my anesthetic. And I've done so. We haven't seen that in years.
Yeah,
So
I understand, because that's one of the things that I remember as a kid when I had my tonsils taken out, the old ether thing where they put the stuff over your nose. Oh, my goodness, that stuff is brutal. I was only 4.
I had ether when I had my appendix removed in second grade.
Yeah.
And it's an experience. It's a smell you'll never forget.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? But you're an author, aren't you, brother?
Well, I wrote a book called The 8 Secrets About Teeth Everyone Needs to Know. Basically, it's based upon things that I realized that patients don't understand about dentistry. One of those chapters is actually about wisdom teeth and discussing the roots, which is a huge part of making wisdom tooth removal much easier is if you can time it right. So that's a chapter that's super important and has a ton of detail in it. But toward the end, there's also a chapter on your golden years. If you are a senior and you haven't kept up with your dental care, you're in for a hard time if you run into problems and medical issues start showing up. That's not the time when you want to gamble. You want to be ready for getting old. I mean, it really is true. If you want to enjoy your golden years, you got to be ready for it so that it's not catching you.
Oh, yeah. That's again like that preventive maintenance. You schedule it rather than having it, the breakdowns and problems schedule you.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And Ted, one of the things I found interesting about you is that you do a lot of things outside of the dental office. I mean, I was amazed to find out that you ran a marathon, 6 marathons, even the New York City Marathon.
Yeah, that was my last one.
Yeah.
This is a few years ago, obviously, but
Wow.
after having that appendectomy, I tried to go out for track when I was in middle school, junior high in the Midwest. I couldn't do it. It wasn't until I was in the Air Force that I actually could do it. I was having some intestinal adhesion issues that didn't allow me to run when I was in high school. But when I saw some of my fellow dentists going out and running for a couple miles after work, I really got jealous, and I said, I'm going to make this work. And so I started running. And then when I moved to Tampa, I had a neighbor across the street who was a long distance runner from Canada, and they suckered me into doing my first half marathon. I was able to do it physically, and it became a challenge. And it's a blast, like doing the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C. They start the race with a howitzer. You being in the Army, you understand what that means. That's a blast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, literally. Yeah. When I was in the reserves, I was in the reserves for 28 years. And
Wow.
3 years active duty. But when it got ready to qualify every year for the 2-mile run and all that, I never ran one step before the test. But you know what I did? I rode a bike, and I rode it a lot because that helped my knees and my legs. You build up that muscle, and then you go out there to run. It's a piece of cake, because if you try to build your body up running, just if you're in a condition like I am, you're just it's kind of like pushing a chain uphill. But get on that bike, it builds the muscles, the stamina, everything, and that's really amazing.
Yeah, that does help the knees quite a bit. And actually, after doing 6 marathons, like a couple, 3 years later, there was a half marathon that they did in St. Pete. And I thought, I've done 6 marathons. I can surely do a half. With no training, I about died 2 miles before the end. You have to train for those runs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And another thing that struck me when you sent in your bio there, you've also worked with the Tampa Bay Symphony.
I don't know how much time I have, but I went from being a clarinetist in grade school to an oboist in junior high, and on through high school. I kept rising the ranks of instructors to the point where I was able to take lessons from the principal oboist of the St. Louis Symphony. It was an amazing experience. He was a crazy guy. He loved photography, just like I did. He got pissed off at the symphony, decided he wanted to go back to Europe to a real symphony. So that was about time I went to college. I didn't play for 20 years. When I finally moved to Tampa, I picked it up again. I gradually worked myself up to a point where a volunteer orchestra that plays in the 3 different performance halls in Tampa needed an oboist, and I happened to be available. I was a bit of a challenge for the director, because I was a terrible sight reader, and it took every rehearsal for me to get to the point where I could get through the music. There was one particular piece of music that he threw at me. I think it was to see if he could get me to quit, but it was a solo in the very beginning of the piece that used keys that I'd never used in my life with my instrument, and so I never got it right during rehearsal, but dang if I didn't hit it during each of the 3 performances. I was determined I was going to do it, and it worked out really well. So it was tough. And the rest of the story, if you remember Paul Harvey.
Oh, yeah.
That first performance that I had to do that solo, I was sick with the flu the day before, and I was still only able to keep down 7 Up when I went to do that performance, because you know what the rule is: the show must go on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I can appreciate how you felt there. My goodness gracious. And you got two grown kids and you got four rescue animals, huh?
I do. They somehow find me.
They-
Um, I have a Schnauzer that my girlfriend's niece, they found running late at night on a busy road in a rainstorm, and this poor little guy was scared to death. We tried to track him down, but it wasn't chipped, and they were going to give him to a Schnauzer rescue, and I saw how well behaved he was, and I'd never had a Schnauzer. You know, we all thought that Schnauzers were for old people, but it turned out he was a super smart and lovable guy, and he's been with me ever since. So. Then a couple other cats that we've picked up. I'm allergic to cats, but these cats needed homes, and we got a zoo.
Yeah. I tell people that, cats, you live with cats and dogs live with you. Because I'm a cat lover and I appreciate their just their personality. They got that little personality, like, I'm sorry, but I didn't get the memo. Who died and left you in charge? That's their attitude,
They're very different than dogs. I'd never lived with a cat, but they can be very loving, and
Oh yeah.
they're smart little dudes.
Oh yeah, they really are. And looking at what you've sent me and all, that's very impressive. Your career and all. My goodness gracious, I tip my hat to you because you really accomplished a lot. Because you didn't just go in there and just say, "I'm just going to continue doing what I've been doing. I've been trained to do this." You thought outside the box and you look for ways because you put your patients first in your heart. And that's a message for all entrepreneurs is don't look at what, you got or whatever. Look what you can do for someone else to ease the pain in their life.
Right.
And for that, Ted, I got to salute you, my man. I really do, because that's really amazing.
Thank you.
But you said you've done all these things. Is there anything that you've done that no one else knows about and you'd like to share with us today?
There's one thing that people don't know about me that they wouldn't know, and it actually starts at birth. It's kind of crazy. My birth certificate is worth probably more than most people's because it was signed by William Masters of Masters and Johnson fame.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, he happened to be my mother's OBGYN, and who knew? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing like starting out in the hands of a celeb.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you started out seeing my birth certificate, because I'm thinking, okay, you got born in a rich family, because I knew that mine wouldn't be worth anything. But also too, when people go to your website, and let me put your website up there, I'd like for you to share with them what they would see or find interesting there.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you put that up, or you want me to describe it, or?
No, just what would someone see when they go to your website? What would they find unique?
Well, what they're going to find is they're going to find information in terms of why timing is important for removing wisdom teeth, because the success of making a good experience for your teen truly starts with getting the timing right. And it's not the same for everybody. So that's one thing that when you come to us, we're going to get at least a panoramic x-ray to see what stage of growth wisdom teeth are at. And the important thing is to do it before your kids have problems. So bring them, say around 15 or 16, depending on when their adult teeth came in. That'll help you to judge when. We'll get that x-ray. We'll see if that's the best time to remove them. If it is, then we can do that. And there are other things we can do as well to make this a great experience. You'll see also more information on my Quick Recover IV anesthesia. And you'll even see a YouTube video, a typical YouTube video of a patient who's in a car going home that has no idea what they're saying. So I want you to see what the dark side looks like. And then when you experience your child being clear when they wake up after the surgery, even if it was an hour and a quarter, they're talking to you. And they're not off in La La Land. So both of those are probably unique to us in terms of the difference with other offices. And the other is pain control. And I'm constantly trying to find different ways in order to be able to reduce the discomfort after the surgery. And probably the newest thing that we've started using is taking advantage of platelets that we can draw from the blood when we start the IV, spin it out, create a product that has extra platelets in it. Why is that important? Well, platelets are the trigger not only for clotting, but also for triggering the healing process. So I figured if we game the system, it can't hurt. So indeed, it helps to speed the healing of the gum tissue, but the bigger benefit is it decreases the pain that patients have afterwards. And if we get every one of those steps right in this protocol, I've got kids coming in, I ask them, well, how many of the narcotic prescription that I gave you did you take? And the last one I do, 17-year-old, 0. And that's my goal is we know the abuse potential with narcotics, and I would rather they tear up their prescription than take them, because there are better ways to get the relief of discomfort after the surgery. And then the final benefit of doing this at the right time is it's done. They never, ever have to worry about unexpected problems from their wisdom teeth from that point on. There's nothing worse than leaving them alone and having your child have problems in college when they're trying to finish their degree, and when they're in professional training, when they're starting their career, when their time is so much more valuable and costly to take time off. So if they're having problems from the wisdom teeth, well, there's a week that's gone because they're on antibiotics getting rid of the pain. Then they're getting the teeth out another week. That's a lot of time. Do it in high school. It's less than a week taken out of their schedule. They're done. That's my goal.
Wow, that's amazing. It really is, because I'd never thought that much about wisdom teeth till I met you a couple of years ago, whatever, and there in Orlando. And then as I, read your information you sent and all of that, I'm going like, wow, being proactive is the only way to go. And I just never, it used to be the old world that I came from. Your parents would take you to the dentist when you had a problem.
Right.
And that's the backward way of doing it, isn't it?
Well, if you want to make it an easier procedure on yourself, I think so. I think it's far better to deal with them before the problems start. Do we have time for me to give a couple examples in older age?
For you, sir? Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I'm going to mention 2 numbers. 100. The oldest patient I've ever removed a wisdom tooth. She was in full dentures, didn't realize she still had an impacted wisdom tooth. And what happened is this wisdom tooth formed a cyst that was growing under her denture, so that when she came to me, she said, Dr. Grellner, I can't get my denture in. Well, of course she couldn't, because she had this big fluid-filled cyst from a tooth she didn't know she had. So you would hate to actually reach 100 years old and then have problems with your wisdom tooth. Unusual, yes, but still, it can happen at any time. Another example is a 75-year-old that was in far worse medical condition than the 100-year-old. This guy was in a nursing home. He fell down. He hit his jaw on the floor. He ended up breaking his jaw in the area that was weakened by an impacted wisdom tooth he had never had out. People don't consider wisdom teeth to be a risk to everyday life, but certainly there are people whose jaws are smaller that wisdom tooth is taking up the strength of normal bone. So if that tooth is out early, you have a chance to fill in that weakened area with bone, strengthening the jaw. So you don't have to worry about going out and roller skating and falling down and hitting your jaw. So just a couple examples of what older patients I've had were totally surprised by issues with their wisdom teeth.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I never really knew that much about wisdom teeth, other than I knew they had to come out. But as far as people that's listening in, and being able to understand the importance of being proactive, especially with their children or grandchildren, my goodness.
Right.
Yeah,
and the topic is got so many different facets to it. It isn't a simple topic by any means. Wisdom teeth are different than any other teeth. It's not something to just dismiss. If you have questions, certainly go to your oral surgeon and try to find out more information as much as you can.
Okay. Well, Ted, I want to personally thank you for coming on. It's good to see you again, and great having you as a guest. And I'm so glad that you're able to share information that people can, say, hey, I want to be proactive about this and avoid a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort and all the things that can come later on.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You bet. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
All right.
And ladies and gentlemen, I tell you right now, Ted is really a knowledgeable guy there, and I know he shared a lot of things with us that just, my goodness, get you to thinking, right? We'll be right back right after this brief message.
Hi, I'm Angel Marie Monticelli with Angel Marie Shines, and I had the pleasure, the honor to go through training for the 6-minute webinar. Oh my gosh, this webinar and how it's structured and how they teach it. Thank you, Speakers Pathway Coalition. Thank you, Don McGrath, and the whole team for the 6-minute webinar, because you made it so simple, easy. And the way you lined it out with the outline, I can reproduce it. And I'm already getting the engagement. I'm getting people that are coming back that are saying, oh, I love this webinar that's so short, so to the point, and I love your products and what I'm selling, but then what I'm also, the services that I provide, and I can do any of this because I have the framework. So thank you so much to the whole team, because the 6-minute webinar totally rocks. Thank you.
Well, we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Angel Marie Monticelli, for that wonderful testimony that you gave. She's a wonderful lady. She's been on this show before, and we're going to have her on again real soon because she is really the shine-on lady. But right now, I got to bring another young lady on board, and you may have seen her on Everyday People. Hello, Tamra. How you doing?
Hi. What a great interview. Thank you for sharing with Doctor. That was amazing.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. I mean, Ted is just, I was so impressed with him. And he says, can I be on your show? And yes, because of the topic that he is sharing, he covers some things that most people don't even think about.
No, I never thought about taking my wisdom from my daughters. That's the only one left. The other ones have already had done. I'm definitely going to take advantage of that information and use it for my daughter. So excited.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because it's very important because, goodness, when you have a pain like that, it doesn't go away with an aspirin, that's for sure.
No, absolutely not. So,
and a lot of people know you. They're familiar with you because you're one of the stars of the Everyday People, as I like to say.
Yeah, I get to spend time with you every week. It's lovely.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to start out a little bit about, we started on our journey, on this journey here that took us here. We actually wanted to do something on TV. Was it about July last year, June, July, somewhere in there? We started talking. I don't remember how it came up. We started talking, but what we did not know was that we had a higher calling coming.
Yeah. And,
because everything we tried to get going, it didn't, because we didn't know the pandemic was coming. And we created the original webinar series on just using Zoom and Facebook Live because that's all we had.
Yep.
And then this thing just took off, and here we are. We're on the show every Friday with Everyday People, and my goodness gracious, it's just been a real treat for us, hasn't it, Tamra?
It has. It's been great interviewing some amazing people, sharing their life journey and their stories. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But share with the folks out there a little bit about yourself, because you're used to interviewing people, but, if someone says, who is Tamra Blankenship, what would you say?
Well, I work with conflict resolution. I consider myself a relationship communication specialist. So I work in corporate America. I work in relationships.
We got just a little bit of an audio problem there. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it got to dragging a little bit. I don't know if it's a signal or what. Can you hear us okay, Tamra?
I can hear us just fine.
Okay. All right. Let's try it again.
So I navigate conflict resolution. I focus on relationship communication and helping people navigate things differently. Can't hear me consistently? Is that what's going on?
What happens is it starts breaking up, and it sounds like you're talking through, in a barrel or something. But we're getting about every other word or something. I don't know what the signal is. Are you on Ethernet or are you on a Wi-Fi?
I am on Ethernet.
On Ethernet. Okay. Well, that should. Yeah. Okay. Well, they say third time's a charm. Let's give it one more time.
Too funny. So what I help people with is conflict resolution. It's kind of a great example right now.
Yeah.
So staying positive and looking for those opportunities when challenges pop up and how to navigate it differently. So giving yourself some new, little treasures. Are you still hearing me every other word?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Cool. You're giving me that look like, something's wrong.
But Ted he says, I hear her just fine. So,
Oh, great.
yeah,
Well,
maybe it was me. Might have been my ears.
are you selective listening? Too cute. So yeah, I get these awesome opportunities where I help people who are navigating some serious challenges in relationships or even in business and sometimes personal. So it could be a negative talk going on in your mind about, I can't find love, or, some of my favorites are I'm unlovable. I can't connect to others because I don't feel like I want to be vulnerable or emotionally connectable. So giving them an opportunity to work through those moments and really redefine that space is what I love to do, and helping people really find their voice in those relationships again.
Oh, yeah. And you stay very, very busy because in addition to all the things that you do, you recently answered the call to help some other folks out, and you're doing that too. And it's just really, I tip my hat to you. I mean, what do you do in the morning? You get up, you eat a big bowl of Wheaties or what?
No, I actually don't eat until 11 o'clock. I fast for like 12 hours. So or at least a little bit more than that. But anyway, yeah. So no, I actually do a great practice of meditation in the morning. I get into some kind of physical movement. I usually hike or go straight to the gym and do a great workout or something. Get the mojo moving, if you will.
Oh, okay.
So keep myself active.
Yeah, my morning, I got up this morning about 4. Of course, I always drink water, while my coffee is getting brewed. Because I think drinking a glass of water, I read that drinking a glass of water is what the Japanese do, and it helps them lose weight, but it also, helps them mentally, helps them in all areas of their life. Because we don't realize, or we maybe don't realize, but maybe don't think about it. But at night when we go to sleep, and we're actually fasting.
Yes.
And then in the morning we get up and we eat, we have breakfast, and we break the fast. That's why they call it breakfast. And but while that coffee is brewing, I'm drinking my water, and I'm thinking, okay, 1 down and 29 to go. I love my coffee in the morning. I really do.
You're so funny about your coffee.
Oh, yeah. But, the things that you do and how you help people and all that, it's extremely, I tip my hat to you because you're so energetic. And you're always so bubbly and happy. You're just a wonderful person to be around.
Thank you.
And goodness gracious. I imagine you're a bright light for a lot of people in their life, especially people that's walking in darkness and worry and fear, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people are struggling with, some of my clients go through suicidal thoughts or navigating severe anxiety or depression. So we give them a new opportunity to see that inner resistance and see something different. How can you see anxiety as a gift? How can you see depression as a gift? What can you do with it? So I love giving them a chance to play with some of those experiences and just, really look at what is anxiety really about? Is it fear of the future? Okay, so fearful of the future. What am I making up? What am I hearing? And so getting them an opportunity to kind of shift that perspective. It's not always, I loved one of our clients that one of the people we had interviewed a couple of weeks ago talked about how it's more in the body depression versus in that suicidal patterning. I loved what he had to say about that and how it starts off somewhere. It could be a belief system. It could be a vitamin deficiency. It could be something that starts it. So it can be a treasure hunt to figure out, is it a belief? Is it nutrition? Is it vitamins? What, is it your hormones? What's going on? So getting a chance to kind of be that detective, take that time instead of hiding from anxiety and, running from it and doing something, even not that I'm against pill taking, but is there a real reason that those situations are happening? And is there an opportunity to naturally unwind it and do something different with that? So it's really a powerful thing when you can take control over some of those things.
Oh, yeah. Because we had Joel Peterson on, and that's who you're talking about on Everyday People. If you go on Facebook to Everyday People, and let me just put the I think I got the logo here loaded if I can show it to them. And if I push the right button, I can. But you see the EP there, everyday people there. You can see the replay of that. And Joel was talking about how suicide is physical and how he got down to like 135 pounds. He was normally 240 or 225 in the Marines Corps. He was, super trooper and all those things. And
Yeah.
his mother had to feed him to keep him alive. And then he said his family had to donate blood to
Yeah.
keep him alive. And that's obviously not mental. That's definitely physical. And,
Yeah. So go ahead.
and then he went through that therapy and everything. And goodness, it just really changed his life. And he's very, you just got to watch that if you're interested in that, because it's the things he said there makes you think, doesn't it, Tamra?
It does. And usually when I take on a client, the first thing I do is I find out about their diet. I find out if they've had a recent, test on their hormones, just to see if everything is really, operating its all cylinders, as they say, or working in a pristine shape, or is it, just kind of do some of the cleaning up of the basics. But it's really important to understand what's really going on, because it may not be a stuck belief system. And I think a lot of the times we blame ourselves for some of the things that are going on, and it can be more than that. So navigating that, I do more of a traditional talk therapy. I do give you tools and strategy and how to navigate it differently. But it is important to have a collaborative relationship with your body and not be just denying the isness of what is real. It could be a diet issue, it could be in, hormones. So navigating those things are my first, order of business, making sure we've got all those things checked out.
Oh, yeah.
You're navigating with that's important.
Yeah, because nutrition, that's the foundation of your mental and your physical health. And it's like when Joe had Joel on, I was talking about, when I was in my 50s, ate like I did in my 30s, and taking all these good supplements in reality, what I was doing, I was turning my body from a processing center into a recycling center. Yeah. And that don't work. That simply doesn't work. That's kind of like eating chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. That's kind of like eating chocolate cake and drinking the diet soda, thinking you're going to lose weight or something,
Yeah.
That's probably a terrible analogy, I know, but that's what what came to my mind. So
I love it. No, it's good. I think it's interesting. Sometimes we don't realize we're eating those sugary foods or those behaviors because of a belief system. It could be just, I'm feeling depressed because nobody's in my life that I feel understands me and loves me for who I am. So I'll eat that chocolate cake or that pound of ice cream, or, that pint of ice cream or whatever it is, and really indulge. And we get in this belief that, it's that bypass. You're starting to do something different, trying to expect something to show up, in your life to make you feel deeply connected and joyful. So it's just, recognizing what belief is stuck. Sometimes just a pattern of that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I've known people that get into those kind of things, and it's kind of like they're treating themselves because that's all they can do. And that doesn't help anything. That just complicates the problem.
Yeah. They don't want to deal with it a lot of the times. They don't want to feel your sadness, don't want to feel your anger. So put on that pretend happy face, or you suck it up, as they say, and then, for men, man up, don't, toughen up, don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in a time when, it was always, real men don't cry and suck it up and that sort of thing, and that's a bunch of hogwash. It really is, because we all have emotions, we all have feelings, and we all hurt, and we need, not only do we need good food and good nutrition, but we also need very good relationships with people to be able to, have friends and things of that, and people important in our life. And, I'm an animal lover, of course, and I've known some people, as sad as it is, that their animals is the only thing that they have in their life that they can, have any type of, share any kind of love with. And, maybe they just don't have any children, or the children don't, come around, or maybe not be close or whatever. But I know you're an animal lover. And
yes, I am.
Yeah. What kind of animals do you have?
I have a Papillon.
Papillon,
I'm down
okay.
to one right now. It's interesting. I've always had three, so it's
Mm.
kind of an interesting experience to only have one. She's
Oh,
actually
mm.
16 years old, so
Mhm.
she's getting up there. She can't hear no more.
Oh yeah, we had my son's dog Rudy. He had congestive heart failure. Eventually had to put him down after a year because his health was just going down. But our little kitty, Dixie, I mean, my goodness gracious, she's still. We put him down on November the 21st, but she still hasn't gotten over that. I mean, she's just. We see a difference in her, and it's just amazing because that's a classic example. Not only do we, need connections, but our animals, they need connections too, very much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're all here to have that human experience or that emotional experience, and animals are no different in that way, right? So
Oh yeah.
it's emotional bonds. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's
Yeah.
so sad to let go of a loved one or let go of an animal that
Hmm.
brought such joy and done nothing but unconditionally love us. So I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah.
That's
But
hard.
they're part of your family, just that's, and they always will be. They always will be. That's the important thing. And Tamara, working with you on the Everyday People show, my goodness gracious, we don't have any problem uh, finding people that want to be on that show, do we?
No, it's a great space. The whole purpose behind it is just to share
Oh,
those lovely stories about why they get up in the morning and what drives them, their
mhm.
passions. So it's such a
Yeah,
love.
'cause it's an opportunity for people to be able to, be recognized. Because really, the hometown heroes is what they are. They don't like to be called heroes, and I understand that. But they're able to share how they give back to their community, and they're able to share things with how they help others. And it's a wonderful opportunity. And this Friday we're going to have Michelle Morales on, and what a wonderful lady she was. As I told her, I said we've had a person at the council on us due to a family situation, and I says, Michelle, would you like to be on our show? Help us. And she says, sure, no problem. She says, under one condition. I said, what's that? She says, I want you to be on my show in the Philippines. I said, I
Oh,
can do that. And if not, I'll let Tamara do that.
there you go. I'd love that. Oh, how sweet.
Yeah,
What's so funny is last night I was actually training in the Philippines. It's so funny. And airlines is downsizing and they're doing re-educating. And so I was working with them last night. I have another presentation tonight for them. So kind of
wow.
interesting. Philippines is growing and evolving. Such a
Mm.
sweet people. Oh my goodness. What a gorgeous culture.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My son-in-law was his family's from the Philippines. And one of the things that's so great about what we do here, ladies and gentlemen, is that we're associated with some great people and we all share our blessings with each other. And when you do that, that's when abundance comes. You don't have to live in like, oh, am I going to be able to pay my bills this month? Or, am I going to be able to buy groceries and pay the rent too? And, because when you come from need, my goodness gracious, you enslave yourself. But when you focus on helping others and caring for others and that sort of thing, then all the boundaries just get torn down. And we've seen that time and time again. And that's the reason why when we tried to put that show together, 18 months ago, whatever it was, it couldn't happen because we were being reserved on hold. Just hang on. There's a bigger picture for you. As a senior in the sky trying to communicate with me, would you behave yourself?
Not your agenda, my agenda.
Yeah, because it was a good idea and it still is, but we were being reserved for another special calling. And I'm so honored and thankful to be here and to work with you on that show there, Tamara. My goodness gracious. It's just, I'm truly blessed. Your friendship and the people we come in contact with, the people we help. Oh, goodness. I mean, it's just the best of both worlds. It really is.
Yeah, it's very unique space. And I'm excited every time we do the show because there's always something new I learn. There's some amazing takeaway.
Yeah.
So it's a gift, not just to, get to share, but to actually learn from all the people that are showing up.
Oh my goodness gracious, yes. Because I tell people, I do 6 live shows a week, and I'm the producer and host of them. And
Crazy.
which means you're the book, you're the cook, chief and bottle washer and all those things.
Right.
And there's always these little things that you forget and you wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and go, oh man, I didn't do that. Oh goodness, I got to get out of bed. That just means I start drinking coffee 1 hour earlier than I do it for. But when we get on the show, that's the icing on the cake for me. It really is. When we have the people on and hear their stories, and like Dr. Ted here, my goodness gracious, the information he shared, because I know he put a lot of people to, ease their comfort a little bit about because some people are, they put off going to the dentist to the last thing until the pain exceeds, they got to do something, And it's really amazing when people like that share their stories. And folks, here at our studio, I got to get my paperwork here out of the way. If you know of someone would like to be a guest on our show, either on Everyday People or this show here, just email us at inspiration@E360TV. We'll send you some information there. And you can email Tamra there too. Just, put attention Tamra, she'll get it. And we'll be glad to, respond and correspond with you and share any information we can and answer any of your questions, because we're all about giving and we help each other. And in fact, today, I got a thank you from 2 people that was been on the show, and they're going to be on other shows because they got seen on this show, which is really great. And and I introduced them to each other, and they were really excited about that. And that's what we do. And that's the kind of people that you want to be associated with, because as I've said before, there's people out there, and unfortunately sometimes their focus is only who can butter their bread. They're only interested in buttering their own bread. And unfortunately they enslave themselves and cheat themselves out of the true riches of life. Mm-hmm. And us being on this show here, my goodness, Tamara, I tell you, I got to ask you something.
Yes.
You said you are originally from Illinois. You've been out in Arizona for 20 years.
22 years.
22 years. My goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And living in Arizona there, and you go out and you hike in trails and all that.
Yep, I do.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I love Camelback. It's my home away from home.
Yeah. What are some of the other things that you do that maybe people out there would like to know, or someone doesn't know? Would you share that with us, please?
It's kind of funny. I live in the desert, but I love paddleboarding, and I go almost every day. There's a lake right by me where I get to go and paddleboard, and then even in the wintertime, I go off and just wear my little wetsuit. Look like I'm going deep sea diving, but it's a little chilly.
Oh yeah, I understand.
So, yeah, I love the beauty, and the lakes are so unique versus back home is all in the woods, which I love. But this is a different kind of beauty. It's more canyon-like. So you're surrounded by mountains as you're in the lake. So it's just such a different experience. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
I remember when I lived in Arizona for 20 years, the one thing that was a shift for me was the change of seasons, because it didn't happen. Mm-mm. And I remember the first couple of Christmas times that I was out there, I'm going like, it should be cold, I'm
not sure about bikinis in this wintertime. It's kind of weird.
Well, I never wear bikinis, even in the summertime.
That'll be a picture. We should do that.
Yeah. But, it's amazing how, it grows on you. Arizona it just flat grows on you. It really does. And those wide open spaces. And oh my goodness, when I go up to Colorado Springs there to see Don, and I leave Amarillo, Texas, driving through the country, it starts changing like that. And I'm going like, yes, this is wide open spaces. And I love it. I really do. Yeah. And, you being out there in Arizona, you enjoying the sun, the fresh air, the sunshine, the lakes and all that. And if someone wanted to come to Phoenix, Arizona, consider moving there, what would be one of the things that you would say that would be, hey, this is what you really are going to enjoy about Arizona? Would you share that with us?
I love, one of my favorite places I take all of my visitors is Tonto Natural Bridge. And it's a carved out natural, it's kind of like a mountain that's been carved through with water going through it. So it rains all the time when you walk through it, the bridge. It's amazing. It's travertine, so it has leaky holes and the water drips through from the top. It's just an amazing experience. So it's a real quick hike. It is a little bit more treacherous. It's not a simple hike. I think they actually have stairs going down one side. So if you just want to walk and check it out, you can actually go downstairs to it. But there is a beautiful hike to get to it. So it's one of my favorite little hideaways. There's so many beautiful places out here. There's just amazing Antelope. Is Antelope Canyon? I think that's between the two states. I think it's between. I'm not even sure exactly where that is, but I know that there's some beautiful views in there.
The one thing that I tell people, the thing that's most unique to me about Arizona, there is no, and I've been all over Arizona. I've flown over in helicopters and I've served in the Guard out there. There's no place in Arizona that you can stand and not see mountains.
That's true.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true. And I lived in elevations there in Bisbee. It's about 5,200 feet. And up there around, when I moved up the Benson area there at J6, it's about 4,500 feet. And that is just beautiful elevations because the weather's nice. And, it's just, I just really loved it. I really do. And you might see the Mule Mountains back here behind me. That's a snapshot from Bisbee. But it just amazes me how far you can see out there, and there's no place that, there's no flatlands out there that's just, like you see on like on Hollywood, they see a desert that goes out, for millions of miles, and nothing in sight. And that's only in the land of Hollywood.
Yeah. There's actually what I love about Arizona is no matter which direction you go, you have a different climate. You can go up north and you can see snow. You go down south, you see more desert. You go more either direction, you see the ocean. So it's really pretty amazing. Out not towards Texas, but you see different climates and different experiences. So it's just amazing adversity everywhere. So it's kind of a really beautiful place. Yeah,
it's really a shame that people cannot travel like they used to, but we're getting back into that some because even the airlines now are flying more. And my son was on a flight. He's in the military, and he says, "Hey, the plane was packed." And people are starting to get out there because, I look forward to coming out to Arizona. In fact, we're going to have Marty Haggard. He's going to be coming out to Casa Grande. We don't know when, but he's promised me. Yeah. He's the oldest son of Merle Haggard, the country and western star. He's going to come out there. He's got a lot of fans out there in Phoenix. And so when he comes out there, we're going to we'll have a little dinner and have a good time, get together with all the folks out there. It's just going to be a wonderful time.
That'd be so fun.
Oh, yeah. And Tamra, we're about out of time, but I'm going to give you just a moment just to share anything you'd like with the folks out there and just whatever's on your mind.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say if you're struggling with conflict, depression, or anxiety, and you're feeling like you need support, reach out. I'd love to see if I can give you some tips to navigate it a little bit differently. The other thing is, if you ever would like to get a chance to speak and do an interview with Jim and myself, please reach out because there's so many amazing people that need your support and need your information. So don't be shy. Share away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time for this broadcast. We thank you so much for joining. And Tamra, thank you for being here to get, just to introduce you a little bit to the people out there because we're normally doing the interviewing and get a chance to meet you and talk with you some. So you're going to be on with us, Everyday People, on Friday, same time, same place. Join our Facebook pages, the Messages of Inspiration and Hope, and the 6-minute webinar, and the Everyday People, because we broadcast their live. So thank you so much, and we hope you have a nice day, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.